Josef or whatever. We talked a little bit about that,
Sure.
about, changing up a little bit, switching gears and keeping everything fresh and stuff like that. So got a ton to talk about. I'm going to talk about your upcoming shows and stuff like that. But, once I said I was going to have you on, let me, mostly here we do a lot of mixed martial arts and jiu-jitsu and stuff like that.
Sure.
But I've been a pro wrestler for so long. And I got to tell you, man, when I first advertised that I was going to have you on the show, I got a ton of emails. I got a ton of messages. I mean, it was just amazing how much stuff I got, because which just goes to show how much you've progressed as far as working, your PCW shows and everything like that. So we're gonna talk a little bit about that. We're gonna get into what we were talking about earlier.
Sure.
Like I said before when we were talking before we went on air, it takes so much to put on a show. People just see the finished product. They don't really get to see how much goes into it. So real quick, for the people listening to us on Full Contact Fun-Addicts, got to make sure you check it out. It's PCW Young Guns 2. It's Saturday, September 2nd at Iguana Kelly's. If you want to check it out, it's at 4306 East Anaheim Street in Long Beach, and you can go to pcwlive.com to get all the information if you want to come down and check it out. I got tickets. My daughter got them for me for my birthday,
Appreciate that.
which kind of shows how much you've progressed and everything like that, because my daughter, who's really fresh into the business, we talked about that before too. Being in California, there's a lot of different shows and stuff like that. But she gravitated to PCW, right away. Especially with the Warbeast shirt, if you can check that out right there. We talk a little bit about that, and people kind of not so much make fun or whatever. But I saw the shirt and I said, I like that shirt. So we'll talk about that too, because it takes a lot to put into what you want to put out in the show. You just go, well, let me throw this on there, and it goes out.
Everything from top to bottom has to be quality.
Exactly. So before we get into talking about your PCW shows and the big shows that you've been having down at the Longshoremen's Hall in Wilmington, I want to talk about getting into wrestling. We'll talk a little bit before we went on the air, talking about how you were, working in Florida and how it was a lot different out there. So tell us a little bit how you got started in the Florida. Is that where you got started, actually, in the Florida area?
I got started.
Well, tell us a little bit about that, because I know it's a lot different than being out here.
Yeah, well, starting as a kid, my dad used to take me to the matches when I was like 3 years old, and I used to go to the West Palm Beach Auditorium in Florida. And Harley Race was the champion. We're talking 1977, folks. I'm an old man. So, so I got to see the greats. I got to see Dusty Rhodes when he was the Dream. I think he started being the American Dream in 72, so I saw him about 5 years into the run. It was white hot at the time. And I got to see this just spectacular event, every Monday night, and it just pulled me in. So I always wanted to be a professional wrestler. When in school, when your parents would ask you, "What are you going to do? You're going to do this, you're gonna do that," I always gravitated towards wrestling, and of course, you can't do that. That's it. That'll never happen. And I was just very, very, very tenacious, as a lot of people that know me now understand. I'm a psycho. I see something and I just horse with blinders on, and I just go get it. So I wanted to be a pro wrestler. When I was old enough to go to a wrestling school, I started going around all the schools. Dean Malenko had a school. Adrian Street had a school. Al Snow, Bastion Booger. There was a few schools in the country that you could go to. And
this is around what time now?
This was around 1997.
Okay. So it's starting to pick up, because back then with Dusty Rhodes and people like that, that's before the curtain got pulled back.
Yes,
and they used to draw. It amazes me too, because when I look back and I see things like Bruno Sammartino against superstar Billy Graham, and they were selling out Madison Square Garden without any TV, no internet or anything like that. So that's what was hot. So it was starting to progress in the 90s when you started to train.
Well, it was the big boom.
Right.
It was the real big boom. And little did I know when I got into independent wrestling at the time that it wasn't going to stay that way, because it was the Attitude Era, and it was just, you'd throw a stone on any place and set up a ring, we would draw 800 to 1,500 people, no problem, with local guys. So I ended up, trying to go the cheap route at first, trying to stick my toe in to see what was what, and I got in with a school that wasn't very reputable. And I was there for a couple weeks, and I was like, man, this just isn't it. This just isn't it. And then I went to a few indie shows, and I ran into these guys that were, one of them was the Blackheart, who Dave Heath was a Blackheart, Gangrel with Luna Vachon, and it wasn't Dave, it was Dave Johnson. They had gone to Japan and stuff, and the other guys were WCW enhancement guys. So they had worked with everyone in the business. And
Like we talking George South?
no, Casey Thompson
Oh, okay,
was
okay.
somebody that worked with
Right.
Kevin Sullivan, and Kevin would hire him for all the WCW tapings and this and that. Well, those guys would make everybody look good. So those guys were really, really great
Yeah, because
workers.
back then it seemed like you had to have some talent to, for lack of a better term, talent enhancement workers or whatever. You had to have some talent to make these guys look good.
Sure.
You know,
Well,
so they can make that big draw.
You had some goofs in there
Yeah.
too, but then you had some guys that would be steadies that definitely had to make the talent look fantastic on television. You know, so those guys taught us the fundamentals of wrestling and the basics and everything like that. And then
Now this is all before you became the Almighty Sheik.
That's correct.
So
That's-
what was your? Were you just wrestling?
so funny story. So I walk in the you know, first I was training for quite a while. You know, they didn't let us in the ring for months.
Right.
You know, it was all chaining outside and you know, chain wrestling, running around the building, squats, push-ups, everything. Finally, they'd give you a spot here or there because we just weren't ready. You know, we couldn't expose the business. We couldn't ruin their business.
Right.
So the first time they told me, "I'll go get a suit like Big Bubba," and I go, "Okay." So and my partner that I was with, because I drove with him, automatically we were together.
Right.
So he said, "You get a suit too." Now he was 345, 6'3", and I was at the time 250, and I was still 5'9", 10
Yeah.
on a good day. So I got the suit, and they were like, "You guys are the stock market." I was like, "Okay, we're the stock market," because back then you couldn't pick who you were.
Yeah, that's what you do, and that's it.
Yeah, and then the following, we got some bookings at the Clewiston Fair that was a multiple night deal, and they're like, "You guys are the market exchange." Oh, I thought we were the stock market. And then the next night, you know, "Oh, whatever, you guys are the market crashers." And I go, "I kind of like the market crashers. That sounds kind of cool." So
So you worked his heel.
yeah, so the fourth night they go, "You guys are the stock exchange." I said, "Oh, wait a minute. Think we could be the market crashers?"
Yeah.
So they let us do that, and then I asked them if we can do me, because I was always darker complected, and my partner was an Aryan, blonde hair, blue eye, and I said, "Let him." He was big. I said, "Dow Jones. That sounds big," and I looked like a Nasdaq. So I was Nasdaq, and he was Dow Jones. At the time, we thought it was the most clever thing ever. And we ended up catching some steam. We started working the Florida circuit, which was really, really good at the time. And we had a lot of dates. So we started getting pretty good. And we started making our way. And the Earthquake, John Tenta, who has passed, rest in peace, he was a big figure in my career because not only was he a massive big figure, but he took a chance on me and my partner, and he had us wrestle him and Typhoon as the Natural Disasters. And we did a feud with them, and it really put a nice stamp on us. It made us somebody.
Right.
And then he had us work with the Bushwhackers. And when we met Luke Williams thought that we were perfect for Puerto Rico.
Right.
And at the time, Puerto Rico was running 5 days a week, which was the very last remaining territory.
Now, real quick, for my audience that's listening here on Full Contact Fanatics, it is a whole different ballgame when you go out to Puerto Rico.
Yes.
I mean, we talk about kayfabe, it's a big difference
Yeah.
out there. So real quick, tell them a little bit about that.
So in Puerto Rico, at the time, there
You're
was
dodging batteries and stuff.
Oh
out there.
man! Well, it was Carlito, who's Caribbean cool. At the time, he was just starting out, and he was just a good-looking kid. He didn't have the afro.
Yeah.
He had a shaved head, and him and his brother Eddie, who's Primo
Right.
in WWE currently with their cousin Orlando. Those two were a tag team, and Carly was the next to get the title. So Carly was working Ray Gonzalez, and Ray Gonzalez, I would equate him to the Puerto Rican Ric Flair.
Right.
He was just he was the Puerto Rican Ric Flair. He was the styling, profiling, but the Latin version, and he was over, and he was great. And so every night Carly would get and it was even a battle over the figure four, and Carly would get the figure four on Ray Gonzalez, and me and my partner would run down and stop it. So you could imagine the level of heat
that you got. Oh my
and
goodness.
now that island, our wrestling was on 2 hours on Saturday, 2
Right.
hours on Sunday, and we were the highest rated program on the entire island. So the people knew, and the people
Right.
came out to the show. So needless to say, I was very hated on that island. So I had to kind of pick and choose
Yeah.
where I would go to a
I was gonna
restaurant,
say,
where
you
I
could
would
just
go.
go walk out freely. You'd have to be
Couldn't.
careful.
It was very dangerous. And
See, people don't understand
Yeah.
that too. They're not just gonna come and say, "Hey, you did it." They'll come after
no,
you.
they're mad. Yeah.
Yeah,
they're-
yeah.
So I was wrestling Carlos Colon one night, who is
Another legend.
he is the legend of legends in Puerto Rico. I mean, he's it. He's it. He's like, God on the
Right,
island.
right.
So I was wrestling Carlos, and I went to throw Carlos into the stands, and he spun me around, and right there in my face, he said, "No, amigo,
Yeah.
they'll kill you."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Whoa!" So, then we'd go to the building, and they'd hollow out, but like in the conchas, they'd have block walls,
Right.
and they'd hollow out in the mortar, and they'd stick hangers, and they'd slide hangers through it to try to stab you on the way to the building. We'd go in between, the bleachers would be coming down like this, and we'd go in the center. And by the time we got to the first step, everybody would rain spit on us. We'd be covered in spit by the time we'd get to the ring. People would throw urine at us. I mean, and we were
that urine batteries, all kinds of
masters of dodging. I mean, you'd have somebody in a chin lock, and boom, you get hit in the back of the head with a battery or spark plug. It was no joke.
stuff. But that all prepared you, because there's no substitute for experience.
Yes.
So that all prepared you for getting in. I don't want to say right now, but getting into the business and progressing.
Yes, one of the cool things that what it really made me realize and understand and maybe become an expert at is rising the crowd as far as getting the level of heat to a just about to spill over,
Right.
and then really understanding how to get the people back down. So it really taught me how to manipulate the crowd,
Right.
which is something it's just lost now. It's like guys are trying for yays and boos and these quick cheap pops. It was just different there. It was very old school. It was almost like walking in the 1970s.
Yeah.
It was
Because
really
you
different.
draw that heat and get them hot.
Yeah.
When that baby face goes over, that crowd's gonna go
Yeah,
nuts.
and
they're gonna say, "Man, that was beautiful. We're gonna have you back."
Yeah, exactly. And just being able to get that to know when it's too much,
Right.
and to really
Right,
pull the
yeah.
drain. It's almost like you're a basin of water is coming up, and before it spills over, you pull the cord, and the
Right.
water goes down.
And
So,
if you
yeah.
can handle that, you can handle anything.
Yeah,
You know?
it was a very eye-opening exercise, and to master that at that time, it really it just set me in the right direction
Right.
for understanding the business around me. And then I started looking at the television, and I would look at, I would get orders, and then I would perform the orders, and then they would play the order.
Right.
And when I would watch the television, I'd say, "Oh, they cut that out." Or, "Oh, they and then I would ask questions, and they say, "You put a little too much heat on the kid," so they would chop it, or so I would understand how to work by the masters that have been
Right.
protecting their own business since the
Yeah.
'60s. Yeah,
That
so,
makes sense.
Yes.
Real quick for the people listening to this, you're here, you have full contact, Fun-Addicts, changing it up a little bit. Got Joseph here from PCW. Got a huge show coming up. It's PCW Young Guns 2. It's Saturday, September 2nd. It's at Iguana Kelly's. It's 4306 East Anaheim Street in Long Beach, California. Don't forget, you can go to PCW Live to check it out. Got it right there in the background if you want to get your tickets and stuff like that. Jessica, did you get your tickets online? Or how'd you get
I
them?
purchased 2 of my tickets online. I purchased your Warbeast shirt online as well.
Awesome.
Good. See, so the proof is right there.
It
You
works.
get whatever you need right there. And talk a little bit about getting into the business because you've done so well, and that's why I want to talk about it because just from that experience is what brought you, to how well you're doing now. So, work in Puerto Rico. Now, what brought you? Okay, first of all, I want to know what brought you to the gimmick of the Almighty Sheik because that's where I saw you, and I said, that guy's doing it right. That when I first saw you as Almighty Sheik, I said, man, that guy's got something there. He's doing something right. So tell us a little bit how that came about and then what brought you out here to California.
Sure. So I had a partner, and we were the Market Crashers. We started working in Full Impact Pro in Florida, which is the sister company to Evolve
Right.
and everything. And I have a long-standing relationship with Sal Hamoy and Gabe Sapolsky. And we were working as changed the gimmick from market crashers to black market. You know, we want to get a little more street, a little, you know, we didn't want to be these clean-cut banker stock market guys anymore. So we did that. Well, then my partner decided to get into MMA, and he's actually super heavyweight. He's a multi-time world. He won the Naga champions a bunch of times.
Well, with that size.
Yeah, and he's a black belt. He works with Black Zillions and America's Top Team and all this stuff.
Okay, yeah, so he's still out in Florida.
Yeah, he's out in Florida, and he's really good, and that was his path. So, you know, he was a real big guy, so he made me big by default. Our tag team was 600 pounds, you know. So when he left, I was kind of searching, like, what am I going to do? How am I going to evolve? And I knew I was in a main event tag team, and I didn't want to be the little guy from the tag team. And I wanted to kind of stay in that main event and do what I was doing because I was making money. I didn't want my money to, because that's all I was doing was wrestling, and that's all I've done for the past 19 years. So I said, well, what am I going to do to stay a main event wrestler? And I already knew the main event style, more dramatic, less flash. And
you wanted to go singles. You didn't want to do another
well, I didn't want to, you know, it was one of those things where, it was time to go singles because I was a little touch sour that I had put all this work and effort and I wasn't in control of it. I was never mad at my partner, and we're still great friends to this day. But it was like,
it happens. People, I mean, look at everybody.
Yeah. Now
Everybody
I'm in a
changes.
tag team, and it's because I know tag team wrestling, and I'm in a little more control in this time of my career. So I went to Sabu, and I asked Sabu if I can do it. I wanted to go the old school route and be respectful. And like anything in my career, I don't know about anybody else, but there's always been somebody there, to help me.
Right.
You know, there's always been somebody. That's why I help a lot of young guys, is because everything I did, there was always some figure that just opened a door for me or something.
How does that conversation go? Because when I saw you, I saw you doing, I said, man, this guy's doing it right. I like the way, you know, he's working, and you know, people were scared, legit. You know, hey, this dude might throw a fireball, or whatever. So, does he say, well, look, man, you know, the sheet gimmick itself is this. So, you know, if you're going to be doing this, I don't want to see it. Or how does that conversation go?
Well, actually, I when I was talking about that person, it wasn't Sabu. Sabu was super cool, and he was just like, do what you dig.
Oh, okay.
I don't have a problem. The guy I was referring to is this gentleman he has passed now, by the name of Ed Schumann. And Ed Schumann was a guy in the Midwest, and Ed just really believed in me. And he saw me start the gimmick, and he said, look, your boots are too dark, your robe is too dark, I need you in this color, I want to manage you. And I said, okay, great. So Ed was a legit manager for me, and he had three people in his state, 4 people, but 1 tag team, 1 female wrestler, and myself. I was the singles heavyweight, the tag team was the Skull Crushers, and the singles female was Awesome Kong.
Right.
So we were like a little family.
Yeah.
So Ed took me in, and Ed really, I mean, he bought me new boots, and he took
that's
took
what we
care
were
of me.
talking about earlier. People just think you throw on a pair of tights and you go.
No.
But it takes a lot of different...
No, we basically storyboarded the character and basically went from top to bottom of how this thing should look, how this thing should act, how this thing should run. And we put a lot of time, a lot of care, a lot of effort into it. And for a guy who had no United States television backing me, I got all over the world multiple times. I mean, I went, you know, here and there and everywhere, and it was with I don't think people really appreciate how powerful WWE's TV is.
Right.
I mean, to have that behind you, or even to be on that television for a year, is huge for your business. To not have that is very difficult to navigate through the entire world on your own, as your own travel agent, as your own, everything.
Now, okay, we're talking 90s. We're still talking 90s, right?
Well, this is early 2000s
okay,
now.
well, we're still in the era of where you're sending videotapes out.
Yes.
Hey, man, I want to come and work here. Real quick, before we get going. Any questions, Jessica?
We do want to give a shout out to Doc Shady. He's watching right now.
Doc Shady, what's up, man?
What's
Sitting
up?
with Josef.
And another fan says that there was a video posted on Instagram, and when can we expect to find out who is coming for Douglas James?
We're gonna get to that. Okay, so whoever we're gonna, I promise, man. We got almost full 40 minutes left, so we'll definitely get into that. Talk a little bit about PCW, but it's good that we get a chance to talk about, you know, because there's a lot of good points. I'm trying to write them down, because when you're a promoter, just like you were saying, well, I kind of felt that I didn't want to be too white bread or whatever with the stock market. So the promoter kind of has to listen to the wrestler a little bit, but you don't want the inmates to run the asylum.
Yes.
But some of the wrestlers kind of know, well, this kind of works for me.
You've got to let your you've got to be smart enough to be a boss, but you have to let your talents riff. You have to let them riff because they know what's good for them. Yeah, you got to let them be them because that is what blossoms. That's from the territory days, how a character blossoms.
Right.
But I came from a spot too, a time where it's like you're that, and that was never me. I made it work, and that's another talent, just being able to say, okay, it's almost like cooking. Okay, you have these ingredients. What are you going to make? Well, okay, I got this, so I can do this or that.
Right.
And in order to have a palatable, delicious meal, it takes some time and effort, and you got to think about it. So it's the same thing as you get these tools, and you got to make the best of it. You got to work with it.
And we're talking about that. We're getting into the early 2000s because I remember when I was working with Superboy. Early 2000s, that's what he told me. He said, hey man, I sent my tapes to Michinoku Pro. They liked my stuff, so they brought me in. And I was like, dude, his brother wanted to go, I want to go. He said, well, back then it was kind of like, you're my boy, so if I send you a tape in, they're going to say, can you vouch for him or whatever. That's kind of how it was back then.
Yeah.
So now in that same era, is that you start doing that? You have to start sending out tapes, or
well,
did you have such a following from Puerto Rico that you got noticed?
I was kind of an odd duck. Like I had this thing in my head that I never wanted to ask for a job because I felt like if I asked for a job, I'd get the one I didn't want.
Right.
So I always wanted somebody to ask me, and that's just me personally. I don't know if that's the right thing for everybody, but so I tried to be a guy that made noise. And I tried to do things that were out of the ordinary, and I tried to get things out that were just shocking and worth talking about. So again,
you wanted those people to go home and say, "You got to see this dude.
Yes,
this dude's throwing fire.
Yeah,
you got to come and check him out first."
I wanted people to be an advocate for me rather than me. Hey, can I come in? Can I come in?
Right.
Because again, it's like, I don't have a spot for you. Okay, do that. And I never wanted to be the guy that just got anything. And I don't know if that, robbed me of opportunity, or I don't know if that's the right way. It was just the right way for me,
Right. But it makes sense though. Jessica, if there's any questions, just put your hand up so I can go to anything right now.
No, well, actually, Pat wanted to know, can you tell us more about subscribing on the page for $4.99?
Yeah, the right now currently on PCWlive.com, you can go to the on-demand section, or you can go to PCWondemand.com, and I've made deals with multiple organizations around the world. We got guys from Taiwan, we've got Progress, who's the hottest thing in England right now, and hundreds of other ones. We have about 400 hours of content, and
You guys are moving up,
yeah,
man, big time.
yeah, and it's
Would you have to jump into that 20th century and move ahead?
Yeah, so it's $4.99 to subscribe, and you get all of our content plus all of our partners' content.
Man, for $4.99, that's totally worth it.
It is.
So make sure you check that out.
We like to over-deliver.
Yeah.
We like to over-deliver and give the people a lot for their value. And I mean, money's hard to come by, and we want to make people feel like,
it's funny because we talk a lot about that with the mixed martial arts and as well as pro wrestling, because we, Dondo and Miguel and I, we talk about when you buy a pay-per-view. If I'm going to put I don't have no problem putting my money out because the guys, I want to support them.
Sure.
But if the pay-per-view's whack, I'm not going to get the next one.
Yeah.
Same thing with pro wrestling. Hey man, if you're putting out a good product, I have no problem supporting it. So for $4.99 to get content like that's a bargain.
Yeah, we don't have the luxury of putting out something bad because we are trying to gain as many fans as possible, because the certain fans, the amount of fans that love us right now, the 1,000 people that come to our shows, or the however many thousand around the globe that are looking at us, we owe it to them because they like what we do. We owe it to them to continue to make something that's got quality.
Money out, man, that you want a good product. But real quick, once again, for the people listeners, you're here at Full Contact Fun-Addicts. We're talking to the man himself, Josef, getting into talk a little bit about PCW, but everybody has to start from somewhere. Then that's when I started noticing you when you did the Almighty Sheik, and when you went to Japan. The picture I have that I show a lot of people at work is one where you're holding both belts. And I tell that to some of my friends at work, and I tell it to some of the guys that I wrestle with. I said, when you go to Japan and you have two, but now you're a wrestler. And it's kind of like what we were talking about earlier. You know, when you're a wrestler and you're training here, and then you go and you work a show, and somebody sees you, like I'll just say like Kiss and Charisma, who run out in East LA, and they say, hey man, we kind of like your stuff, man. Why don't you come over here and do it over here? You know, then that's kind of like what you're saying. They liked your stuff.
Yeah.
They want you over there. You don't have to call and say, hey man, can I come work your show? So you start progressing. You get into the Almighty Sheik gimmick. You know, you said, hey man, let's let this work. I thought it worked really well.
Yeah.
So then, that's why I asked about the tapes. Did they see you and say, hey man, why don't you come out here?
Well, Japan was courting me for...
Now, real quick, before we talk about
Yep.
that, for the people listening to us at Full Contact Fanatics, Puerto Rico, a whole different ballgame. Japan, a whole different... I'll give you an example.
Totally, yeah.
Superboy, we were talking about, he said the first time I went out there, they said, you got to train, you got to run, you got to be in shape, because it's a lot different out there. He said, you know, I know what I'm doing. Or he goes, they beat the crap out of me the first day. They lay those kicks in, and they just go and go and go. And when you're fully blown up, they just own you.
Yeah.
And then when they've completely ravished you, they say, okay, let's go home.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about that.
Well, so, you know, again...
I mean, was it a shock for you when you went out there? Or
No,
you knew what to expect?
no. I was always the type of guy that sat under the learning tree.
Right.
So I always had guys that were the upper echelon of our business that I could call on the phone and I can discuss everything I was doing. And I cannot stress enough how important it is to talk to the legends and talk to the people that have made money in this business. So when I went to Japan, I went a little differently. I took a completely different route. Japan was courting me, and they wanted me, and I kept pushing them off, which is unheard of in independent wrestling. It's unheard of. And the reason why I did that, I had a reason, method to my madness. It was at the time where I was working with Ed Schumann and I was working up the ranks of the NWA in a working class fashion. I won a state title, which was the Florida NWA Florida heavyweight title. Then I won a regional belt, which was the NWA Midwest Championship. Then I won an Intercontinental belt, which was the North American title, which Jarrett had on WWF at the time and everything. It was a high-profile belt. And then I worked my way up to the NWA World's Heavyweight Champion. And I knew I was right about to get the NWA World's Heavyweight Champion, and that turned into a huge struggle and a big blow up and all types of stuff. But it was something that I was so focused on because what I was doing for my business was I was holding off Japan until I became the NWA World Champion, because I knew that in the States at the time, the NWA World's Heavyweight Championship didn't have that much value and that much weight. But in Japan, it was a completely different story. They respect the history of professional wrestling. So I said, well, if I get that NWA World's Heavyweight Championship, I'm going to be somebody when I get to Japan.
Makes sense.
So it was one of the smartest things I've ever done in wrestling, the way I played that. And then when I went to Japan, I didn't have to go to the dojo and train. In fact, the first day I showed up there, I started training, and the owners came in and said, no, and they took me off the floor and brought me to restaurant, and they didn't want to disrespect me because I was the NWA champion. Right. So I thought that was really a good decision.
Well, see, that's smart. That's smart.
Yeah.
And they had more respect for you.
They absolutely did.
As the world champion.
And my spot was, I was a high-profile spot because I was the NWA World Champion.
Now, was that the first time you went to Ribeiro Steakhouse?
That was the first time I went to Ribeiro Steakhouse.
That's one thing people don't understand. You can't buy.
Yeah.
Right. You got to be a real wrestler.
No. Yeah.
And they give it to you.
Yeah. I got 2 jackets from them, and that was a proud little accolade.
Yeah. And now, is that still prevalent today? Or?
Yes. It's a little more. I don't feel it's as exclusive of a club as it was. When I went there, another thing, I didn't ask. I just sat down, and they presented me with it. They knew who I was, and that was very flattering. I was. It's odd to talk about myself. I feel like I'm putting myself over, but
no. But it's legit. I mean, look at I've been wrestling for years, and dude, I would have loved to went to Ribeiro Steakhouse and got a jacket. So man,
it was
absolutely.
It was really cool, and So when I went there, I had a really good spot on the card. the first time I went there, they didn't want me to defend the title. It was an NWA thing, and it's a long story.
Yeah.
I was getting sabotaged by the NWA. It was a really strange time.
I've heard a lot of
yeah, it was
stories.
really weird. But I kept, I kept moving forward. But the next time I went, I believe that was the time I was able to defend the title.
Yeah.
And then the following time, I was in the main event at Korakuen Hall, which was, the best part about that was, as it was happening, I knew it was special when it was happening. It wasn't like something where like, oh man, that was cool. I wish I would have known at the time. Like at the time, I was mature enough. I was like, wow, this is cool.
Yeah.
So I did that, and then they had me in a double title match. So I won their championship, and then I paid
Now,
it back.
Did you get one of those big trophies?
Yes.
How do you get those home?
Well, no, you
package them
leave it there.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Because I see those and I'm like, man, how do they get? Because them things are huge.
Yeah.
How you get those
Well,
bad
you're in
boys
there,
home.
and it's like, and Steve Carino was in Japan. You have a second come into the ring with you, and Steve Carino was always with me, and he was really an integral part of smarting me up to everything that was going on. So again, a legend, somebody in your corner. So
And somebody who got kicked in the chest by Hashimoto.
exactly.
Yeah.
Somebody with a tremendous amount of experience. I believe Steve has had more Japanese tours than anybody.
Yeah.
I think he's up to 80 or 90. It's insane how many
more
times.
frequent flyer miles
Yeah.
than anybody.
So Steve.
Real quick before you get any more questions?
You got a ton of hearts floating by, and a fan also says, Almighty Sheik, dude is a beast.
Everybody knows that, man. So we have him here. Don't forget, real quick, Joseph sitting over here to my left. We've got the PCW Young Guns 2 coming up at Saturday, September 2nd at Iguana Kelly's. It's at 4306 East Anaheim Street in Long Beach, California. You go to PCWLive.com to get all the information. I'm going, got the tickets. I'm interested to check that out just because, like you said, the atmosphere is a totally different atmosphere from the big shows.
Yeah.
But go ahead,
I am
continue.
dying to see Adrian Quest.
Yes, a lot
I
of
am
I
too.
got tickets to
Yeah,
see,
I am too. I've never seen Adrian wrestle live, and he's been somebody that's on my radar, and I'm really excited to see. I'm really excited to see all the guys. Carl Fredericks is.
Yes.
He's a star. That kid looks like
But
$1 million.
But not only that, you guys, did you just put that out today that you guys are gonna wrestle the True Grit?
Yes.
So Brody King and Josef against True Grit. That's,
Yeah.
We saw True Grit at I think you'd already took off after the Santino Brothers show or whatever, and they kind of gave me that old school type of feel too.
Totally.
I mean,
Yeah.
you look for stuff like that too?
I feel comfortable in that lane.
Yeah.
So I think that the show has a pacing that is different than other shows, and I think I allow everyone to kind of grow in their lane. So like I don't have 2 Warbeasts and I don't have two Willie Max.
That's smart. That makes sense. And to go to the shows and look at him and say, man, this guy, he would work well with this guy or whatever. So continue on. You're wrestling. You're still in the like. Would you say that was the epitome of your wrestling career when you were in Japan?
No. I think the my favorite time is right now.
Well, I mean that goes without saying.
Yeah, my favorite time's right now. It's like I'm wise to the business. I've got.
Well, do you get more pleasure out of? Or I don't want to say pleasure, but you've done so well. I mean, for me, who's been around forever, and seeing that, see when you go to Japan and I see you with those trophies, that's something I've always wanted to do.
Yeah.
You've accomplished it. Now, do you get more out of that, or do you get more out of seeing? Hey man, I brought Douglas J and he did really well. Does that, is it more for you that way, or with your own career?
You know what it is? It's like, it's like chapters. So like when I was there, that was the most important, most incredible thing at the time. But I've grown older and I've matured, and now it's almost like I can see these younger guys and I can see myself in them, and it really pops me to go, hey kid, if you just take that off and add that,
and then it gets
over. To me is like, a lot of the guys don't know me, and a lot of guys probably don't respect me, not because they don't know me, they don't know me or whatever. But Douglas James is just a different type of kid. Ever since I met him, he just understood. You could tell he's from a good family.
Right.
He's a real good kid, and there was. I put him through the mill a little bit. We made that kid. We made him bleed. We made him kick and scratch and fight for it, and he did. And that's when I broke into wrestling. We got beat up every day. I don't mean once in a while. I mean
Right.
every day we got beat up. And I don't mean a little bit. I mean for real,
Right.
we got beat up. And I just want to stress that we got beat up. And that doesn't happen anymore. And I asked the guy that was the leader, that was the head beater-upper.
Right.
And I asked him one day, I said, man, I said, you beat us up all the time, and then one day you were nice to me. He said, and I said, and you ran all those other guys off. And I said, why? He goes, we beat up everybody. And everybody that leaves is a pussy. The ones that come back are wrestlers.
Now, when was this? What year was this?
This was 1997.
1998, I was, Pistol Pete Marquez, him and Budokan used to wrestle at the Olympic. And that's who I first started training with. And he did the same thing.
Yeah.
He broke my ankle one time and never healed.
Yeah.
But that's what he said. He said, hey, you came back, so I knew you wanted it.
Sure.
That's the way it was back in the day. Now, is there any wrestler that you, okay, I'll give you a good example. I was working for Kiss and Carisma, and we were in I think Mexicali, wrestling in a bull rodeo type thing, and I see this guy doing squats in the corner. I mean, buffed out, good shape, and he's just doing squats. And I look like that, and I said, man, tell Kiss, hey man, who's that kid right there? And he says, oh, that's Pegasus' kid, Chris Benoit. And I said, well, I'm not working that dude, am I? He goes, no, he's working somebody. Because I saw him, and I said, he just. You look at him and he just looks
Intensity.
like he has it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Do you see that in any of the
I
other
see
people
that in a lot of
nowadays?
guys on our roster, yeah. Like you look at a guy like Fatu, oh my God. He is just so talented.
Yeah.
It's amazing how talented he is, just a natural. I look at a guy like Brody King and
I was gonna say the same thing.
Yeah,
When
Brody.
I went to the show and saw him, I said, man, that guy's, he just has a certain look
Sure.
about him, you know?
Yeah, Brody-
that will, for lack of a, I don't want to say it because it sounds dumb, but like to draw money.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, he's the most important thing about Brody is Brody has a good head on his shoulders. And I don't know that Brody trusts anybody, but I feel like Brody trusts me.
Yeah.
Brody has come from a background of touring with a band, so he gets it. He gets, it's a very similar lifestyle. He understands what he has to do. He understands the environment, the hierarchies, what you need to do, how you need to get what you need. And but more importantly, he's very talented.
Yes.
And I see things
And I
in
see him
him.
training all the time. Every time
He's
I go to
nonstop.
Santino's
He's-
to pick up a shirt,
yep.
he's there working
He's always
out.
there.
And speaking of shirts, now, is that going to be one of the shirts that you're going to have coming up pretty soon?
That's going to be a skateboard.
Oh, wow.
So yeah.
That's amazing. Well, moving on, because we're starting to run up against the clock.
And real quick,
Go
Douglas
ahead.
James as well. I mean, Douglas
We'll
James.
see him too.
Yeah.
When I saw him, and it was funny because he's really starting to get out there. He's got a good following.
Well, yeah.
He's selling merch. But when I went to go pick up some shirts and Joey wasn't there, Joey's like, hey, calls Douglas and he says, hey man, there's a bunch of shirts. They're under the ring. You gotta go. So he was digging under the ring
Humble.
to get some shirts and all that.
Yeah.
Didn't bother him at all.
Yeah.
You know.
Eli Everfly's another one.
Yeah.
Flip Gordon. I mean, our roster is all there by design.
Now Eli Everfly, he was in the last Young Guns.
Eli Everfly won the last Young
Right.
Guns, and he's earned a spot on our show. And I'm not gonna lie. I heard some stuff from people, and Eli's this or Eli's that. I heard a few bad things, and I judge people by how they. And I don't. Hopefully that doesn't sound bad, and hopefully Eli's not mad at me for saying that out loud. But I heard a few things like, that kid's a little prick or something.
Well, that comes with the territory.
Yeah.
Because I've heard it too.
Well, he's one of the most professional kids I've ever worked
And
with.
you're gonna have haters.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't matter how good you are, how humble you are. You're always gonna have haters.
The one thing with that kid is I thought he had some talent, and then I saw him work, and I understood what happened in the match he had, and I saw him in a completely different light, and
Right.
he is a very talented kid.
Right.
Very talented. And
Joey's
his head
really high
his
energy.
head his head with me, I don't know about anybody else, but his head is on his shoulders with me. And I respect him, and I feel like he respects me very much, and he's nothing but a pleasure to deal with on my show. But he's a very
But I
talented
think,
kid.
I think a lot of that comes with the respect factor from you and Joe. I think he has a lot of
Yes.
respect for you guys, so he listens
Yeah,
to what you have to say.
I have nothing but
Now,
good stuff to say about him.
Speaking of that, we'll talk a little bit before we went on the air too, because we don't have much. So much, dude. We could probably do 2 hours,
Yeah.
easy.
We do have
But
one more question
go ahead.
too, because I know you just said that Eli did win the last interaction. How exactly does the fan interaction work?
There
How
you
do
go.
you vote?
So basically, it's a live vote. So we the last time, the way we did it, and I'm not sure if we're going to do it the same way this time, but the last time we just had a web address and they just voted. So it's online, it's 100% transparent, it's 100% real. So there's no manipulation. Whoever the fans decide, the fans literally choose the fate of the wrestler. So whoever the fans decide, that's why it's so important for the wrestlers to have their people.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm, hey, look, just like American Idol, I'm not hating on nobody. If you got all your people there and that's how you win, you win.
The people have spoken.
If you can get yourself to the big show, that's one thing. Surviving on the big show, it's a competitive environment.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you look on one side of you got Rob Van Dam. You look on the other side of you got Leo Rush. You look on the other side, you got John Morrison. I mean,
Yeah. It's funny,
it's the best of the
and
best.
it's funny that you say that too, because we talked about Leo Rush before we went on the air, and I wanted to talk to you a little bit about
Sure.
Pick Your Brain on that too. Now, he went on to bigger things. You know, you got the WWE with the 205 Live. Now, me personally, I think that they need somebody in there that kind of knows the lighter wrestlers, because you got a guy like he's Gran Metalik. He used to be Máscara Dorada in CMLL. Man, that guy's got, they call him the king of the ropes.
Yeah.
And you see him, his stuff is really smooth, but I just don't think they know who to match him up with in there.
Yeah.
Now, Leo going out there, I'm a little worried that that's going to kind of happen to him.
Yeah.
So do you think, just strictly your opinion, that they need somebody that knows the lighter weights and can match up these different people?
Yes, I think the bigger problem is that style of wrestling is not, it hasn't really hit the broad audience of the WWE yet. So I think that's coming up from the
casual fan?
Yeah, the casual fan. I think it's coming up from the underbelly as this is the new generation. This is the new style. But I think they're going to need a breakout star like The Rock in that division.
Yeah.
Like, and the thing that I try to stress on these young guys that do this style, and look, the younger generation might think I'm too old or whatever. So it's kind of hard to identify and everything. But my personal opinion is, a lot of these guys spend a lot of time on spots and athleticism, and that's great. But they have to have a promo. Drama is what sells tickets, because you can go and watch this all day long. Boom, 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 boom.
Yeah.
It's great. But drama, sinking into your heart, that's what draws money. And that's the main event style. So people say Hulk Hogan's not a great worker. You have to be, I mean, come on. Hulk Hogan is, the fact that Hulk Hogan can go like this and get a crowd of 100,000 people to go crazy means he's the greatest worker of all time.
Well, I was watching an interview with Kevin Owens, and he said, as much as people hate John Cena, he goes, when I was in the ring and they announced me first and his music hit, he goes, I could not believe how many people they were screaming, John Cena sucks, Cena, and he goes, but it was so loud.
Yeah.
He goes, I couldn't believe that somebody could have that much on people.
Yeah,
that they would
it's so
do that.
polarizing, and the thing about it is these people are screaming yay, these people are screaming boo, so they're all hooked.
Right.
Where instead of, if they don't care, whatever, or they're just watching
that's
it, it's
the thing
like,
you don't want that silent crowd. But in the first 205, the matchups, and we talk about experience. They brought Tajirian, and that dude still had it.
Yeah.
He wrestled against Gran Metalik.
But you have to look at it from a casual fan's perspective. Everything in life is a popularity contest, and everything is like, when somebody says, oh, what's your favorite music? You say a band. The first thing they say is, who do they sound like? Everybody wants to categorize something. Everybody wants to be connected to it. They want to know. So when they don't know who they are, they can't get with it. So they have to spend they have to spend more time developing the characters. They have to spend more time putting a spotlight on a certain few instead of a broad spotlight on the entire division. And they need to give these guys compelling angles so they can connect with the people.
It seems like they tried that with Brian Kendrick, but to me, you have to have a good dance partner.
It seems like they always try and change and try. They never put everything into something. And look, I'm just on the outside looking in.
Yeah.
Everything,
We all are.
everything I do in my company, somebody will go, well, why don't you do that? And I'll go, oh, wow, because that day this happened, that happened. And there's so many different factors to how we got to this decision. Now, this decision is the best decision possible for all the things that happen. But you thinking of it just being a perfect day, you wouldn't pick that. Well, neither would we.
Right.
but we had to, given the circumstances. So it's just speculation from the outside looking in, as always. But if it was my baby and I had to run it, I would run it my way, you know, and I would try, and I would give it a go.
People want to have somebody to hate.
Yeah.
And some the
It's really difficult to hate somebody that does a 450 splash.
Right.
It's hard to hate
the,
somebody that does something that's cool.
The pay-per-view that was just last, the people wanted Nakamura to go. I mean, he had them in the palm of his hand. When Jinder went over, those people were just hot.
Yeah.
You know, so it keeps going from there. So they want to love somebody and they want to hate somebody.
There's also a disconnect in booking philosophy, where this underbelly's coming up that I feel like the brass at WWE doesn't have a real pulse on.
Yeah.
So it's this weird time now where there's just all this change and there's this big gap. And I think that's one thing that we do so well is we understand our fan base and we understand the current landscape of professional wrestling.
We talked about that before, the matchups. You know,
Yeah.
Jessica, you got one more?
Just a reminder, the PCW Young Guns 2 is standing room only, so it's correct that it is first come, first serve, stand around the
Yes,
ring.
it's standing room only. This show, Young Guns, is just, it's our small show. It's to get the SoCal locals looked at, to get them to the other show. We made it really cool by bringing stars from our bigger show on and giving the fans an interactive way to vote for these guys. On October 6th, we have a humongous show.
That's a big boy.
That's a big one. Demon Eyes, it's going to be, and again, PCWlive.com, you can get your tickets. And the winner from Young Guns gets a spot on that show. So that's in a
different location.
That's in a different location.
That's at the Longshoremen's Hall.
That's at the Longshoremen's Hall in Wilmington, and we have Terry Funk coming in for that.
Oh, you got the seminar also?
We have a seminar also. We have
See, it's good that we have a vehicle like this to talk about experience. It doesn't give no more experience than Terry Funk.
Come on. You know, and I'm going to say something. It's October 6th, but we have not sold. I mean, we do very well with tickets. We do very well. Obviously, we're
Right.
but we haven't sold not one Terry Funk seminar yet. And the tears got to, I mean,
Yeah.
if I was a kid coming up now and if they don't know who Terry Funk is, that's the first problem. Terry Funk, I talked to Terry Funk on the phone, and he tells me about his father and how his father taught Eddie Graham, who taught Kevin Sullivan, who taught me. So he's telling me about where all of my knowledge came from and how it trickled down and what was going on in those times and how the business was and who was involved and what happened. And I mean, to sit with Terry Funk for a few hours and understand,
It's invaluable.
I don't think what they understand is a guy like that has so much knowledge that he shaves steps off of your path. Like the legends literally shave steps off of your path, and they elevate you. And if you're not smart enough to understand that, like a lot of guys like to go to seminars to the new hot indie guy.
Right.
And it's like, oh, I want to be in a seminar with that guy. He does all these cool moves. And it's like, that guy has been around for 2 years, man. He doesn't have that grizzle. He doesn't have that know-how. And more importantly, he didn't make those millions of dollars.
Right.
Show me the guy who made all the money. I want to listen to him.
Even when Terry Funk was, getting up there in years, they still brought him back for ECW.
Oh, Terry's the man.
You know what I mean? And
We
my
know
uncle-
that'll sell out, but
Yeah.
the fact that it hasn't had everybody going through the door.
I remember I think I was like 12 or 13 years old, and my uncle was down from New Mexico, and I was telling him, I like wrestling, and he says, let me tell you something, man. I saw Terry Funk literally take this guy with him and hang him over the the top rope, and stuff. Even David, Dr. D. David Schultz, when he slapped what's his name?
Stossel,
when he was on a talk show after that, he said, you something, Terry Funk beat you, and there's nobody better than Terry Funk. So that's all they talked about
he's the
coming
man.
up. So, and we talked about that too. There's no substitute for experience because they know what works. They know what draws.
They're the experts.
Exactly.
They're the Jedis.
So
real quick,
go
one thing I'd like to add to that is,
I'm sorry, it's October 6th, right?
it's October 6th. One thing I'd like to add to that is, there's young guys that want to be on PCW. PCW's got a lot of steam right now. We're drawing more people than anybody in Southern California. We're doing very well, and people want to be involved in this show. We're bringing in the hottest talent from all over the world. How do you get looked at? You go to these seminars. Douglas
Like Brody
James
King.
is Brody King, Andy Brown. These are all guys that have been there. Jesse James. These are all guys that have been involved that are getting bookings. These are all guys that have been that I can't run out to all these indie shows. You have to, if you want to, you go where the fire is.
Right.
You want to sell bananas, you go to where they're selling bananas to sell, you know what I mean? So
And like we were talking about before, what you put into it is what you're going to get out of it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
we're not here to dream. We're
Exactly.
here to work.
Exactly. Well, we're coming into the home stretch, but real quick for the people listening to us here at Full Contact Fun-Addicts, don't forget PCW Young Guns 2. It's Saturday, September 2nd at Iguana Kelly's. If you want to check it out, go to PCW Live, as well as October 6th, got the big show coming up, and of course the Terry Funk seminar. Make sure you check it out. I mean, we talked so much before we went on the air, and it just talked about how invaluable it was. Anything else, Jessica?
Yeah, 3 minutes and 24 seconds into our show, a fan asked, when can we expect to find out who is coming for Douglas James on Instagram? And you said we'd go back to it later on in the show, so when can we
Because
see
the
that on
promo was just a
Instagram?
hand, right?
Yeah.
Saying
Yeah,
that
well,
like a
for
little voice
are you
on the
able to
water,
give that out? Or?
10 a.m.
So I think we'll probably find out in promos on the way to Young Guns. So you
Okay.
got to kind of
So
stick
keep
to
looking
PCWlive.com, and we like to make our show fun.
Yeah.
We like to make it fun to be a fan of our company, and that's the one thing the fans say. They're like, this, you know, they got smiles on their faces and they're happy, and we're making a company, me and my partner Mike,
Right.
we're making a company that we would be fans of, and I think we're succeeding.
Not just because you're here, but I agree. Me personally, what I think about is the matchups. When I saw Damien and Bestia against you guys, I thought, man, that's something I would want to see.
Yeah.
You know, and like we talked about, we want to have this and we want to have this. When I saw that matchup, I said, and then when you were talking about that too, I saw that when the guy went to give him an RKO and Fatu did a handstand and stuff. It's just different, you know, so much, and I like the matchups and stuff like that. But real quick, since we're running up against the clock, one question. Before you retire, or if you did retire, was there one person that you've always wanted to wrestle and weren't able to? Or before you retire, somebody, because for me, like I told you before, it's Minoru Suzuki. I said, man, if I don't have much left, but if they said, look, we're going to bring him down, you can wrestle him, I would train until the day he got here and want to have a good match with him. I just think the guy is just, he's mean, he's different, the hair, everything, and he puts it on you, man.
Yeah.
You know you're in for a match.
Most of my heroes are gone, but if there was anybody in the world that I'd want to just be in that ring with, it would probably be Terry Funk.
Yeah.
Yeah, Terry Funk is, I just respect the old school so much, and Terry Funk is, to
It's the
me,
epitome of
I mean, people talk about Mount Rushmore all the time, and
Yeah.
the Mount Rushmore of wrestling, and they put some crazy names on that thing.
Yeah.
Terry Funk, all day, every day,
Without a
is
doubt.
on there, and maybe even in George Washington's spot. I mean, Terry Funk is the man.
Right.
Just one of the greatest of all time that will ever be.
Oh, sure. I agree 100%. So if you want to check it out, now's your chance. October 6th is the day of the show, right?
Yes, October 6th is, we're going to have a seminar that morning for wrestlers that are trained, and then we're going to have a meet and greet with Terry Funk, and then we're going to have the show, and that show, it's going to deliver
It's
big
huge,
time.
and it's great. The Young Guns is before because you get your chance.
Yep.
You know, if the people like you, they totally interactive.
Yep.
And you can vote. You get that spot on
Yeah,
the
we
show.
have-
Kind of leaves the ball in your hands.
Yeah, we have wrestlers, former WWE. We have wrestlers that are current New Japan stars. We have current Lucha Underground stars. We have the top,
We talked about that on my Wednesday show when
Mm-hmm.
I had you on. I gotta say, Penta Cero Miedo's got to be the hottest independent right
my
now.
man. Yeah,
Yeah, dude's everywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, every time
Yeah.
I'm looking and watching stuff, he is everywhere.
and he's
Which
a
says-
pleasure to deal with.
Which says a lot about him because he can pretty much work with anybody.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
He
It's
every
amazing.
time I see Penta, he says, "I love PCW,"
Yeah.
and that just to know that guys are happy and they understand that we go the extra mile for them,
Yeah.
and they sell a lot of merch and they do good while they're there, and they don't want to miss our show. That says everything, and that's very Penta is. I hold him in very, very high regard. He's
it's
a brilliant performer and a great person.
It's just amazing how he's blossomed,
Yeah.
from Lucha Underground. Now he's just everywhere,
Yeah,
man. all
he's
the time.
hot,
But
man.
Anyways, for the people listening to us, Full Contact Fun Addicts, don't forget, check out PCWlive.com. Got so much coming up. I got to tell you, man, it's great to have you on here.
Always.
Just from the conversation we had before we went on the air and talking about it, because, a lot of the younger kids, they don't kind of, not so much don't understand, but they, at least they get to hear it from you. and see, because I have tons of people, man, I sure would like to get on one of those PCWs, but you got to work at it, dude. They're not
No,
going to
yeah,
come looking
yeah.
for you.
I mean,
you got to work at
you
it.
look at that roster; it's insane.
Exactly.
I mean, and you know, like guys like Eli who worked to get there. Guys like Douglas worked to get there, and I could see those guys looking around like, whoa, you know, like. Okay,
I agree.
you know,
And that's, like you said,
and they belong there.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Oh, well, you know,
I don't let people on the show that don't
say,
belong
the proof is in
there.
the pudding.
No, they
you
belong.
see them, and so
No.
we talked to Santino Brothers too, and you said, look, that's why I'm here, you know,
Yeah.
and it
And
worked out really well. One last, Jessica, before we go.
We noticed that you recently posted a lot of merchandise on Instagram. Will all of that be available? There's seat cushions, sunglasses, shot glasses. Are all those going to be available?
Yes, everything is available at our shows. If you go to Young Guns, you can buy that stuff up. Also, we're I'm going to let the cat out of the bag just a little bit. We're going to offer season tickets for 2018. So, and our season tickets are going to be a really nice package for our fans.
That's awesome. Well, when you can do that, that means you're doing something. That means you got a fan base, and people are definitely going to come and check it out.
We have a good response from a lot of our regulars, and we have a vision and we have a plan, and we're sticking to it, and we're working really hard, and we feel like we want to be a company that brands guys. We want to be an elite company in the world, first in Southern California, then in the country, and then in the world.
It's heading that way.
Yep, that's what we want to do.
You know, like I said before, you know, I was out of the business for a while, and when I got back in, because my daughter was into it, and I see, you know, just how it's blossomed and whatever, and I think you're doing stuff right, not just because you're here, you know, because there's a lot of stuff going on in Southern California, but I think that's the formula, you know, you watch these guys, you see the experience, you have these shows like Young Guns, and you get to see these guys work in front of a crowd, and it makes a big difference. So don't forget, got to check it out, PCWlive.com. Just like you said, the merchandise, Young Guns 2, the big show on October 6th, the seminar. I don't even think he sleeps. I think the dude just keeps going and going. Exactly. So, hey, man, a million thank you for coming on for sure. Keep in touch with us, man, for sure, so we get everything going on. For the people listening, don't forget, Josef, Warbeast, they're going to be out there at that show, so you've got to make sure to check out. You guys will be doing a little meet and greet before, too, right?
We will. And check out allviolenceislegal.com. Allviolenceislegal.com.
That's huge. Again, a million thank yous for coming on. Jessica, can you unmic them and walk them out real quick so we can get Dondo in here? Don't forget, everybody, make sure you check out PCWlive.com. That's the man right there. He's heading out as we have Dondo coming in, so we can finish up with a little MMA. A million thank yous, bro. Appreciate it. Keep in touch with us.
Good stuff. Here, I'll take it.
Please don't make our man trip so he can still make his show.
That's okay. We can throw it right up here.
You
No
got your
big
stuff?
deal. Micing up. Thank you, producer Jessica.
You're welcome.
Man, this is a tough act to follow. I felt nothing but
Hey, thanks
passion,
again,
hard work, good stuff. Joseph, you're the man.
See you guys soon. Can you hear me? Did my fall off?
I'm not a huge wrestling dude, but now I'm a fan of Joseph. Really. I want to buy some Warbeast
Look
stuff.
I got so happy my mic came off.
You know what?
Okay,
And
now I'm back on.
there's a beautiful guitar called a Warbeast too.
That's-
It fits in right with his style.
That's what I'm talking about. But for the people listeners, we're back here at Full Contact Fun-Addicts. I got my man Dondo over here. Going to switch gears real quick. Head back to the jiu-jitsu. Now, you were actually at, was it the Russ Mira
Yes.
Subfighter MMA?
It was.
And real quick before we get into your interview right there, it's a little bit different with them, right? They have, you don't just one and done.
It's very different. In fact, Russ is a great guy. He put on a great event. So, Subfighter BJJ put on a tournament this weekend, Santa Ana High School. Got some really cool interviews. Russ promises everyone at the bigger events, like the one at Santa Ana High School,
Right.
at least two matches,
Yeah.
which is awesome. You pay the money, and usually it's one and done, if you're lucky. Even if you get a
And
match.
like when I went to Grappler's Quest, drove all the way up there, lost my first match, and
Yeah.
that was it.
Exactly. Or if there's not somebody on an age bracket or a weight
Right,
class,
right.
there's different variables.
Yeah.
Guarantees them 2 matches. Went off without a hitch. It was a great event to watch and to be a part of. The second time we've went out. He's been a friend to us in the show. Met some real cool people. We got some interviews. So if you want to go ahead and segue into that, Robert.
Fired up, Robert. Let's check it out what they have to say.
It looks like we got Nam Fan
And it looks
on
like
there.
he's got some old school tap out shorts on too.
All right, we're live. Are we live? All right, we're live here at the Subfighter BJJ tournament, Santa Ana High School. I've got MMA fighter, UFC fighter Nam Pham with me.
How you guys doing, guys? Thanks for having me.
Great to have you, Nam. How'd you guys do today?
I had 2 guys today, just 2 white belts. One guy took second, the other guy lost the matches.
Got it. Still good experience. I like the way this is run. How do you feel about the sub fighter tournament?
Oh, I love the sub fighter tournament. You know, Russ Moore runs very good tournaments. Quick, you know, in, out, no breaks, you know, no intermission. Anyone enjoys that. Just get in, go home.
Very good. So I haven't seen you fight in a while. What's next on the agenda for you? Just running the dojo? You got fights lined up for yourself?
Fighting MMA wise, I don't fight MMA anymore really. I try to do jiu-jitsu tournament I can. I do judo tournaments, and I still do like professional boxing matches. Yeah.
That's great. No, and I think that's wonderful. I was always so excited and so proud to see you in fights because you're Orange County boy. You know what I mean? Representing the hometown. You know what I mean? So we always love to see that. Good to see you guys competing. Where's your dojo at? Can you tell me a little bit about where you operate?
Yeah, we have the NAFAD Mixed Martial Arts Academy located in Garden Grove. Anyone's interested, we're located on 10662 Stanford Avenue, Suite B, Garden Grove, California, 92840.
Very good. So look up Nam. You're in Garden Grove or anywhere in the surrounding areas you want to be trained well, hit them up, go by for a class. I highly recommend it. Thank you, Nam.
You guys have a good.
Yeah, I love it. Thank you, brother. Good. All right, Full Contact Fanatics. We're here at Santa Ana College for the Russ Mura Subfighter BJJ event. I have Adam from Carlson Gracie OC.
Very well, very well.
So you performed today. Looks like you got the gold. Can you tell me a little bit about what took place, how many matches you had, what went on?
I buyed into semis my first match. My very first actual match I competed. It was good. Took his back. I tried to keep it on my feet. You know, I have a wrestling background, so I try to stay comfortable there. It was my game plan with my coach. Just stay where I'm comfortable.
Great. What's your coach's name?
My coach's name is Troy Acker. Yeah, OC Carlson Gracie.
Very nice, very nice. How long have you been doing jiu-jitsu now?
A month and a half.
Very good, man. So that wrestling background really pulled in for you.
It did, but really, you know, the drilling with Troy these past few weeks, like everything we went over, I used it today. We came in with a game plan. You know, Troy really set me up for success.
Very nice. That's good to hear. So what's the future look like? You gonna stick with jiu-jitsu?
Yeah, dude. I mean, it's kind of addictive. It's hard once you start and you get a little bit of success. It's fun, man. You know, if you like, you know, full contact type deal, you know striking obviously, but it's a whole lot of fun. You know, it's hard to walk away from.
Very good. I'm glad to hear that. Congratulations today on your number one, your gold, man. That's really good. I hope to see you again at future tournaments. It looks like you got the bug, so we just may do that.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Got it, Adam. Thank you, buddy. Take care. All right, we're live. Full Contact Fanatics here at Santa Ana High School for the Russ Mura Subfighter BJJ event. I've got the wrestling coach from the high school here. Go ahead and announce your name.
My name is Scott Glab. I'm the head wrestling coach at Santa Ana High School. I'm on my 28th year here, and I teach video production.
Wow, we got the right guy. Video production and wrestling. I love it. So I realize the event's been here before. How do you feel about jiu-jitsu since you're a wrestling coach?
Oh, I think it's a good complement to the sport of wrestling. It seems like a lot of wrestlers do the wrestling first and then fall into jiu-jitsu. We have a kid here that's a senior in high school, and he started with MMA rounders in the summer, and he's already won 2 jiu-jitsu tournaments. And I think that's the sport of wrestling contributed to that.
Yeah, I think it's a great foundation to have before you begin your jiu-jitsu journey, if you're lucky enough to have that first. So you giving him all those skills and putting him over at rounders probably, you know, gave him what he needed to probably be where he's at today with jiu-jitsu.
Right. And I'm seeing his confidence level go up, so hopefully with the jiu-jitsu he'll be a little more confident, have a little bit better season this year.
Very nice. No, I'm glad to hear that. Have you worked with Russ Mura at other events?
Well, just when we hosted here at the high school, that's the only time.
I think it's great that you guys allow him to do that. It's a really clean venue, very nice, great seating. Every seat in the place is a good seat.
Right, yeah. Well, we try. We're trying. We're making an effort.
Oh, I love it. Well, thank you so much. It was great to talk to you. Hope to see more of your guys on the show and out here performing in the tournament.
All right, you bet. Thank you.
Thank you, buddy. All right, we're live, Full Contact Fanatics, here at the Subfighter BJJ Tournament, Santa Ana, California, at Santa Ana High School. I have head instructor and owner of Subfighter BJJ, Russ Mura, here. How'd the event go today, Russ?
Went pretty smooth today. We started pretty much on time, and we finished, I don't know what time it is, but we finished really, really smooth. So I was very happy at how everything went. The referees did an excellent job. I didn't have any problems with parents or coaches, so you can't really ask for much. But everybody, pretty much at the end of the day, leave with a smile. You know, everything about what I do is about to give back to the community and to leave them with an experience. And everybody got a good amount of experience today. Everybody, I guaranteed everybody 2 matches. Everybody got 2 matches or 3 or 4. So it's a way of me giving back to jiu-jitsu, and I feel like I did that today.
I love it. No, and I feel strongly about that because the people that I've talked to, everything that I saw, I fully understand. This thing went off without a hitch. People were happy. Great competitors. A lot of schools came together. It's a really cool event. When's the next one coming up?
The next one I don't have completely scheduled yet, but I'm looking at the first week of December to do it at Dana Hills again. And I also have a few ones that are coming up in my gym that I run out of my gym. So the ones that I run out of my gym are round robin format. So I can guarantee almost every competitor 3 matches. And then these ones I can guarantee every competitor 2 matches. So I love to throw both of them. It's just different. You know, today is like a lot of work. I was on the phone all day yesterday, the day before, and stuff like that. And the ones that I throw in-house are very close, and you know, everything's more personable, and it's not quite as much work, but you know, it's you know, I have reached a level of practitioner where I am now in a state of giving back, and this is one of the ways I give back.
I love to hear that. Great to have Russ here. We're going to get him on the show once again and fully interview him so we can get part 2. But wonderful event, Subfighter BJJ tournament coming up in December at some time. We'll keep you posted. Look on Instagram, look on Facebook. Russ's name is out there. Look him up.
All right, thank you guys. I really appreciate the support.
Absolutely, buddy. Thank you.
Thank you.
Show before, right?
We did have Russ. We had a pretty intense interview. He has undergone some changes. We had.
Have you been out to his dojo?
I've been out there,
Yeah.
absolutely. Actually, not to his new place.
Well, we went to the new one when they had the grand opening, right, Jessica?
Yeah.
That's a nice place, man.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. So, Subfighter MMA is Adam Lynn.
Right.
Subfighter BJJ is Russ Mura.
Yeah.
They're around the block from each other.
Right.
They were once partners. Now they're doing their own thing.
Right.
But both gentlemen, both really salt of the earth, just doing the right thing
Yeah,
in their
'cause
own
when-
separate worlds.
When Russ had the grand opening, he had Chris Brennan
Yeah.
come out. I got him, and I got a couple of different people. Randy Haskell was out there too.
Yeah.
He had a big, huge, not seminar, but he kind of had like him teaching different techniques or whatever that first day. Conca Fight Gear was out there.
Yeah.
I went out there with on the mat, did some stuff out there. So Russ Mira, when you talk about. We talked about that here, about putting on jiu-jitsu tournaments.
Yeah.
Now, especially because he has little ones there at his dojo.
He sure
But
does.
then he has the big ones at the Santa Ana High School.
Santa High School, Dana Hills High School. I think he's just looking for different
And,
venues.
and for him to say it came off, without a hitch, we were
Yeah.
able to start pretty much on time or whatever
does
is
it.
huge because let me tell you something, man.
Yeah.
You've been to many,
Yep.
and the people signing up, and then by the time you make the brackets and everything like that,
Yeah.
it's an all-day thing
Make weight.
or whatever. So it takes a lot. So it'd be nice if we can have him back on and break that down a little bit, talk about
I'm
competing
glad
and
you're
stuff
open
like
with that because we're going to do that. We're going to pull him back in and we'll do a show with him. We want to do a further interview with him.
Right.
We're going to go visit
Now,
Subfighter BJJ.
I was going to say, you guys going to go down there and
gonna
show the
go
people
down.
Subfighter BJJ.
You kind of started this thing. I like the way that you did it on
Yeah.
the Delo Jiu-Jitsu.
Yeah, you kind of show how you come in and
Yes.
where you sign
You
up
did
and
it
the
right.
mats and stuff like
You
that.
did
you
it
can
right.
Yeah, so you could check it out, and it's cool because they can kind of see and then they can go down there and kind of check it
You
out.
know
So
what to expect when you walk in the door. That's a
Yeah.
great thing. I think that's a good thing to do for people.
I agree
You know?
100%. Well, Russ Mir has always been real cool
Yeah,
with us,
he's
as
a
well
brother.
as Adam Lynn. It's good
That's
to
right.
get those guys in there, pick their brain.
That's right.
And talk a little bit because, like we were talking to Joseph before, nothing beats experience.
You know, and I don't know that much about the wrestling world. I come from the jiu-jitsu world.
Yeah.
Man, I learned so much from
Yeah.
Joseph.
Yeah,
And a guy with nothing but heart, nothing but
Yeah.
integrity and hard work.
But it kind of, I don't want to say it's the same thing, but it almost is because it takes a lot to put on a show.
It's similar
You know,
worlds.
and then
They're
to put
very
on a
similar
tournament,
worlds.
it takes a lot. And you
Sure.
got to do your homework. You got to get out there.
Yeah.
You got to make sure everybody knows your name. You got to make sure, if you're competing, you want to come down here.
Yeah.
Well, what separates our tournament from, just like he said,
Yeah.
you're not just going to go one and done. You're going to get at least 2, sometimes
That's right.
3
3 or
at the
4
smaller
even, yeah.
tournaments.
Yeah.
So it's great, man, and it's good to test your skills. If you're just training
Agreed.
and stuff like that, it's good to test your skills, which we talked about with John when he was here. So
Yep.
great job. Look forward to seeing you guys go out there
Thank you,
and
buddy.
go do some rolling out there.
Thank you. We're
I think
gonna
it
do
would be a pleasure if we took somebody out there. I don't know, maybe Jessica, show some chokes on her.
Let's do it, Jessica. Producer Jessica's in.
Russ Studio, I'd love to come back.
Yeah, we will, and absolutely, you're invited at all times.
Yeah, for sure. So Russ,
Question, though,
if you're watching, go ahead.
If you guys have had Russ Murin studio, who else can we expect to see in studio as big as Russ Murin?
What about Nam Fam?
We're going to actually go out to Nam Fan's place. We got an appointment at Bao Quach's place. We've lined them up. I can't talk too much about it, but
Okay.
you know, there's a lot of different dojos out there. Actually, Robert's got the sign here. Yeah, we met up with Chad George.
Oh yeah, Chad George. We can get him down here. He's out there in
CMMA.
Gardena.
Yeah, he's over there in Gardena. He's given us an open invitation. We talked about Bao Quach. Ian Harris. He's
Gabe Rudiger.
Fight Science in L.A. just opening up right off La Cienega, I believe.
Yeah, well, let's get Gabe Rudiger in here because I got quite a bit to talk to him about.
Yep.
It's funny because when they had a signing over there when OTM had South Bay, I've been trying to get him on for a while, and he just happened to come down to buy some stuff, and we talked a lot because everybody goes back to when he was on the Ultimate Fighter, which is kind of good, you know, because it put him on the map.
That's right.
People know who he is and stuff like that. We talked about.
Everybody needs something, right?
We talked about when he was trying to make the weight. And he was just completely naked laying on by the pool.
Jeez
and
almighty.
BJ Penn says, I thought, what are we, National Geographic?
Yeah.
So it's good to get him in here so we can talk about that. Plus, he's moved on and got some. I think he goes down to Chad George's every once in a while and interacts with him and works with some of his
Good
students.
people.
So, yeah, it's a jiu-jitsu family.
Yeah,
You know, everybody
really
helps
is.
everybody out. So look forward to having him in.
Yep.
Dando, a million thank yous for coming on and showing us some of the interviews. We look forward to checking you out, going down there and showing us some techniques.
Appreciate it. And one more shout out,
Go for
if
it.
you don't mind. Spar Stars.
Is that Rumble on the Water?
Yeah, Rumble on the
wow.
Water. This is the one coming up at Queen Mary. There was one back in June, one back in July. We got one coming up on September 16th, so just a couple weeks out. Tony Padilla, we call him Tony T-Bone Steaks. A great supporter of the show, a good friend of the show and of Robert and myself. Puts on a great event. Anybody that can get out there, look for Rumble on the Water. Look for anything put on by Spar Stars.
Yeah, now will they be doing the weigh-ins at the Queen Mary also, or the weigh-ins going to be held somewhere else?
You know, I don't know if the Queen Mary Hotel portion will host the weigh-ins. I think it'll be in downtown Long Beach.
Okay.
But I'll get more information
Well,
on
yeah,
that.
let us know because I definitely want to go check those out. And for
I'll
the people
bring it.
listening to us, you got to go to the weigh-ins to get the full experience.
That's right.
So you can see what these guys go through to make weight, you know, at contract signings and the athletic commission. It's a whole thing right there. So if you want to get the full experience, go to the weigh-ins. Then when you see the finished product, you see what these guys go through to get a better experience.
Yep, and there's
Would
the
you agree?
website. Yeah, absolutely. And then he's got something coming up on the Commerce Casino Saturday, October 7th. It says Who's Next? Spar Stars event.
Oh, wow. So he's all over the place.
He just got back from Miami, did Combate in Miami.
Combate Americas, yeah.
He's a busy guy.
Awesome.
He did the Celtic Gladiator, did the LA Gladiator at the Coliseum. He's a great friend. And cool shirts. Look at his new
Yeah,
shirts,
I like
man.
that. I like
Who's
that
next?
Spark Star. We're definitely going to check that out. Saturday, October 7th is the one that's at the Commerce Casino. Jessica, a question real quick?
Are we expected anytime soon to see Fernie Flores or O'Neal Fletcher live in studio?
Those are the guys from Conquer Fight Gear. I've been calling
on it.
O'Neal Fletcher for quite some time. I want to get him in here. I want him to bring some product so you could see it.
Let's do that.
Hopefully Miguel won't be here so we can bring that San Francisco style giant ski. I'm telling you,
he won't sit still for that one.
I've
yeah.
seen many. I work for on the mat, and Lucky Gi is my gi, but I saw
Yeah.
that one, and that one caught my eye.
yeah.
So they
Quality.
do have really good products, and a lot of their stuff is very simple.
Yep.
You know, nice jacket that just says Jiu-Jitsu,
Sure.
a little thing that says Conquer Fight Gear. So O'Neal Fletcher,
Yeah.
and you guys, Fernie Flores, if you're listening, bring your stuff down here. Let's talk, man.
That's right.
We'll give you almost a whole hour if you want to come
Right.
down and check it
and
out.
the Show Your Roll guys.
Shout out to O'Neal too. Remember he gave me those stats.
Yeah, O'Neal
Yeah.
Fletcher gave Jessica some
I
spats. She
love it.
modeled them, put it out there. Everybody liked them, so it all works out. So,
Their Instagram
Robert,
page.
go ahead.
Just real quick, as we end this show, just let everybody know the last time we were on the show was Thor's retirement.
Thor Skansky?
Yeah,
Thor Skansky has retired.
Congratulations on a big career.
The wildest man ever.
That's
That
right.
guy was, but Long Beach Fight Night, man. Thor Skansky
That's right.
was just. It was a pleasure for him to be on the
great
show
guy to
because you
watch.
knew not only were you going to get a good fight, you
Yeah.
were going to get a character from the weigh-ins all the way up
He
until the
walked out
fight.
like Rocky Balboa.
Exactly,
You know what
exactly.
I mean?
Hey, great career. We'd love to have him in here sometime. Thor Skansky, come on down, man.
That's right.
We'll put you in this chair right here, and we'll talk about everything from Long Beach Fight Night all the way up until the end.
That's right.
All right, well, for the people listeners, don't forget Full Contact Fun-Addicts right here, 8 o'clock every Monday. Don't forget my man Dando with Miguel. They're going to start. You guys started your Sunday show? Or you still working on
Working on
starting
the
it
ins and
up?
outs. We're going to get it done.
Well, that was a
couple
little
weeks from
preview
now.
with the interviews. You know,
Oh,
getting
yeah.
Russ Muir and stuff. stuff like
We're
that.
just partnered here with our friend and brother Favi, who's letting us just get the wheels rolling.
For
we'll
sure.
get it to you on a Sunday coming up, probably in September.
That'll be great, and look forward to you going to those dojos and showing us
excited to do it.
from a jiu-jitsu practitioner's
That's
perspective. So don't forget, Full Contact Fun-Addicts. Don't forget Miguel and Dando got the Sunday show that they're working on. We're going to bring everything together. Make sure you stay free admission. A big thanks to Robert, man, because he's always over there going back and forth, bringing us in and out. Of course, our guest Joseph D. Kabibo and Jessica sitting in the producer spot. We'll see everybody next Monday. Stay with us, and we'll make sure to let you know who the guest is next week.
That's right.
See ya.
See ya. Good job, brother.
Sweet.
Oh, guy was something else. I don't know him. Never.
Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for these warriors. Let's hear it. Ladies and gentlemen, this fight comes to an end. 4 minutes and 8 seconds of round one. Your winner by TKO in the red corner, also a round of applause for his opponent, Lieutenant Cottrell.
Once again, put your hands together for Quentin McCottrell. This guy's as tough as a junkyard dog, always brings the fight. And we're proud to have him here at CXF, but right now, the man of the hour. The wolf off a chain ain't nothing but a dog, but you know what, Thor? I'm just going to give you the mic, man. You got some things you got to get off your chest. Let's hear what you got to say.
Oh, let's hear a second.
And now, the end is near, and I face my final curtain. My friend, I'll say it clear, I'll make my case, of this I'm certain. I've lived a life that's good, I've traveled each and every highway, but more, much more than this, I didn't